Oh, wow. Oh, I am live. Oh, cool. Okay. Hey, Michelle Hart here. We are about to start our training for today, and it's all about what to eat and not to eat while you're fasting. So we all know the benefits of fasting, and I thought I would do a deeper dive into this topic. So just waiting for everyone else to hop on. And when you do hop on, make sure you say who you are, where you're calling from, and never be afraid to ask questions. This is about you, and it's about learning how to be optimal. And we know fasting is one of the ways that we can do that. So I will wait to hear who's popping on. Hopefully you can see my screen. If anyone's popping on, let me know if you could see me on the screen and you can hear me okay. I'm going to check my phone to see if everything is working properly. I think you can. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Okay. Well, 2 more minutes and we're going to start the call. I like to be on time. Oh, Maureen from Kamloops. Hey, Maureen. What's the temperature there? I heard it's 37 in Kelowna today. Pretty hot. Love to hear what it's. Sounds good. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for letting me know. Just wanted to say hi to Maureen. And I'd love to hear the temperatures. Right now it's 89 degrees Fahrenheit here in Playa del Carmen. Feels really hot, but I like it hot. That's why we're here, living the dream. Oh, good. Larry says loud and clear. Thanks, Larry. I'm glad you're on the call. This is great. What you focus on, you achieve. So I know you're in it to win it. 1 more minute. We're going to get started on today's training. All about fasting. 91. Larry says it's 91 there. That's hotter than here. And I'm not sure where you are, Larry. You're in the States somewhere. Can't remember where, but you're somewhere in the States. I know that. Okay, grab your waters, everyone. It's hot. We got to add more water into our bodies. And if you're sweating a lot, you need to add some electrolytes because you're sweating them out. It's another topic altogether. Oh, okay, Iowa. That's where Larry is. Okay, good. Well, 2 o'clock, I'm going to start today's call. All right. Upper Midwest. All right. Okay, so again, I want to welcome you all to another Wednesday live training, and these are just deeper dives into the program that I have available for anyone who's looking to lose serious weight in the next 90 days, because there's a way to do it where you're not depriving, you're not starving, and you're not following any BS diets, okay? And so today we're going to take a deeper dive into fasting. So I'm going to pull up my screen and start sharing that. One moment. Okay. So again, what this training is about, it's a deeper dive into the training that I have that I've just explained. The training is all about how we're going to get slim, but we're doing that we're getting strong to get slim. And so when we get strong to get slim, we actually feel sexier. We look sexier, we feel sexier. Everything just works better. If you can do it in a way where you can enjoy the journey. And this is what it's all about. And what I always start with is, it's really important to get an image in your mind. How do you want to look? How do you want to feel? Because our bodies will follow what we think about. And if we can put these images out there and look at them like daily, even in the morning, you will get there, okay? But really, what does that look like for you? And I know fasting is a way to actually get to, the ideal weight, the optimal health, and that's what we're going to focus on today, okay? So the program that we're going to do a deeper dive in is actually part of module 2. So I've done all the trainings on all the 9 modules, and the second module, Fat Flush Fundamentals, we did touch upon Feed Well, Fast Well. Well, today we're going to dive deeper into fasting well, okay? So that is part of module 2. So I'm going to stop this share and I'm going to get right into the training right now, okay? One moment. Takes me a second. I only have one hand. 1 sec. Okay. So you may be asking, you've heard about fasting, you've heard the benefits of fasting and how it's really one of the great tools actually to do many things in the body. One of them would be losing weight. Others would be just having better brain function. But you probably heard about all the benefits. But really, you may be asking yourself, okay, I've heard about this fasting and I know it's supposed to be good for me, but what, can I have? Eat? What can I drink while I'm on these a fasting protocol? And that's exactly the deeper dive we're going to do today. And so, just as a summary, we're going to be talking about. We're going to start with the fasting and its actual benefits. We're going to talk about the types of fasts that are available out there, because there's not just one. There's actually 4 or 5. And we're going to talk about what won't break a fast. Okay, so things that you can have while you're fasting. Okay. We're going to talk about foods that are actually totally unsuitable, okay, and ones that are suitable, because believe it or not, you can have some substances while and your body still thinks it's fasting. So this is going to be really good. How to break a fast. So if you've been, say, on a 24 or 48-hour fast, what's the best food to actually get back into, eating regularly again? Because there is a certain strategy for that as well. And maybe you're new to fasting and maybe you want to learn, how do I even begin fasting so that I can have the benefits to that. And then we're going to summarize it at the very end. Okay. So basically what I alluded to earlier was, depending on the fasting method, it can be possible to have some foods and drinks. Okay. So we're going to get to that in a little bit, but what we're going to start with is what exactly is fasting and what really are the benefits. Okay. So basically what fasting is, it is a voluntary dietary practice where you are avoiding consuming foods and drinks that contain calories for a set period, okay? And so people have actually been practicing fasting for hundreds and hundreds of years. So this is not something new. But it's in the forefront now because so many people are looking at ways where they can actually get back into their perfect weight. And certainly this is a tool that you can employ that can actually do that. But really you need to do some homework and find out which fasting method is best for you. But we're going to go through them today so that you can have a better idea on how to get started, okay? And just so you know about the benefits, there are multitude of benefits. And when they studied rodents, so these are animal studies, they actually suggested that it had a dramatic reduction in the risk of obesity, okay, and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now we're seeing this skyrocketing right now, is this non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. This means that you have a fatty liver and you don't really consume much alcohol, right? And so this is something that really needs to be tackled because it has health implications that are quite negative. So again, fasting can really, really help with this and turn that around for you. Diabetes, certainly insulin resistance, diabetes type 2. This is, some types of fasting are really, really beneficial for diabetes. Again, there are different types. So if you have diabetes, you really need to be careful and make sure you're employing the right one. Okay. And then cancer. Absolutely. Cancer. They've been shown that certain fasting techniques are really, really helpful to help with, first of all, preventing cancer. And second of all, help reduce the risk of another cancer episode during the 5-year watchful waiting period. Okay. So meanwhile, we know that those are rodent studies, but for human studies, we know across the board that it can have a dramatic increase in the reduction of obesity and the reduction of, actually weight loss plateaus even. And so this is why this is a really, really important topic. So we talked about the benefits of fasting, and now we're going to talk about the different types of fasting. There are different ways that you can employ this particular tool, okay? And what I want to do is go through these, but then I want you to, after we're done, kind of get a better idea of which one is going to be best for you. I am going to give my biases. I know that the one that I prefer the most for myself and my clients, but really it's ultimately up to you and what feels right for you and your body and your circumstance. So the first type of fasting that we're going to talk about is the alternate day fasting. Okay. And so if you're looking at the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, what this includes is you would eat normally on Monday, but then you would fast on Tuesday. You would eat normally on Wednesday, and then you would fast on Thursday. So these are alternate day fasting. So what that means is during the days that you're eating, you eat normally. Okay, but the days that you're not eating, you would avoid having any calories at all for the entire 24 hours. So that is one way that you can fast that can provide some benefit, okay? So that's one. The other one is a modified fasting protocol. So again, we look at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And what this includes is you would basically pick 5 out of the 7 days. 5 out of the 7 days. And you would eat normally on the 5 out of the 7 days. So whatever days those 5 are, you would pick. But the other 2 days, you would consume 20 to 25% of your normal calorie intake. So very little calories 2 days out of the 7, okay? And you may have heard of this term. It's they call it actually the 5-2 diet, where you're eating normally for 5, and then you are eating very low calorie 20 for the other 2 days out of the week. Okay, and so the other 2 days could be things like powdered drinks, or maybe some bone broth, maybe a soup, or something that's 25% of your normal calorie intake. Okay, and so that would be that one. So now we're going to get into my personal favorite, which is the time restricted eating. Okay, so the time restricted eating is my personal favorite. All right, and so this one is, you may have heard of, it's actually called intermittent fasting. Oh, sorry. Yes. Somebody's trying to call me while I'm on here. Okay. So getting back to the training. So here we're on the third type of fasting. So the third type of fasting is called time restricted eating. You can also, it's also used, the term can also be termed intermittent fasting. So they're kind of like used for the same thing. So intermittent fasting is really where you are picking a window of time where you're eating. Okay. And outside of the window, you're not eating. Okay. And so typical eating windows would be somewhere between, say, 12 and 6, or others would be somewhere between 8 and 4, or maybe 12 and 8, or maybe 10 and 6. So basically you're either fasting for 14, 16, 18 hours. Okay. And then the other hours are you're consuming calories. So you're eating normally. All right. So this would be the time restricted eating, or the intermittent fasting type of fasting. All right. So this would be my personal favorite, and there's a number of reasons for that. But really, the biggest reason is because you could be, whatever one you pick, you need to be consistent. It's always consistency that wins the race, always. And it needs to be something that's not too, like, you don't have to knuckle fist your way through, right? It's something that's not going to be that difficult, because if it's that difficult, you're not going to be consistent and you'll be very frustrated. All right, so I really find that this time restricted eating, or this intermittent fasting, is really one that I personally follow myself, and a lot of my clients do as well. And so again, after there are a few others that I'm going to go through, but you're going to want to make sure when you pick one, you've got to stick with it. Okay. And so one of the ways that I have my clients stick with this type of fasting, which has so many benefits, is I make it super easy. It has to be easy for you to do this and get results, because you need to be consistent, as we talked about. And so what I do is I give them a one-page cheat sheet, and it's the daily routine. And so if my clients are watching this now, they know that they have their Slim, Strong, and Sexy daily routine. It's their schedule for the day. And what it includes is the times that they are having their water, the times that they are having their exercise, and the times that they are eating, and the times that they're fasting. And so all they do is just pull this out, and they just follow the schedule. Now, I don't know about you, but schedules give freedom. It may sound like it's so restricting, but really, if you have a schedule, then you know exactly what to do and when. And this really helps with accountability as well, because you've got your you've got your sheet, you're saying this is what you're going to do, and my clients seem to get really good results with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stop this share. I'm going to see right now if there's any questions on these 3 different types of fasting that I have already started with before I get on to the next topic, okay? So I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to go back to see if there's any questions. So any questions so far about the 3 different types of fastings and anything that comes up? I'm going to go here. No questions so far. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to more of the training, and if there's any questions, please pull them up so that I can start to answer them, okay? Here we go, back to the training. Okay. It's raining really hard here. Okay. So we talked about this. Now we're going to get into, okay, so if you are on a fast and it's a time when you're not supposed to be having any calories at all, what is okay to consume during the fasting period? Okay. And so, well, obviously water would be one. And why? Because water has 0 calories. And you can drink as much water as you want during your fasting period. This also includes sparkling mineral water. Things like Perrier, San Pellegrino. There's a lot of other ones out there that you can consume that is still triggering to the body that you are still in a fasted state, all right? And so if you're actually concerned about, is my bubbly water, is it, even though it's flavored, is it still okay for me to have while I'm fasting? Well, the best way to know is always, always, always turn the label, look at the label, and look to see what does it say on the nutrition label, okay? And so if it says there are calories in there, okay, then you are technically not fasting, all right? So remember, we don't want to look at just the front marketing, which is like, you know, talking about all the benefits of it. Really look at what's inside and then look at the calories. So if there's calories in there, we know that that would derail your fasting efforts, all right? So that's one way. So I know for me, what I really, really enjoy is sparkling mineral water. I love Perrier. I love San Pellegrino. You can get them lime, lemon, grapefruit flavored. There's no calories at all. There's no artificial sweetener. There's not even any stevia. There's just a flavor in there, okay? And there's no calories. So for me, I know it can extend my fast. So even if I feel, and this has happened to me at the gym, even if I feel like I still need to continue with my fast and I'm starting to get hungry and I don't want to eat yet, cold sparkling mineral really works. So not the warm, but the cold. The cold, for some reason, does suppress appetite. And so I will take my cold sparkling mineral water with me to the gym. And I will take my regular water with me to the gym. And if it's in the morning, I'll also take my coffee, my black coffee, which is what we're going to get to next. So I take all 3 beverages into my backpack with my towel, and I go to the gym. This is just in case I start to get hungry again, and I would like to continue fasting. Okay, and so black coffee is another beverage that you can have that does not derail your fasting efforts because there's no calories in black coffee. All right. The other one would be herbal tea. So we know herbal tea, even green tea, also allows you to stay fasted. All right. So there's different types of herbal teas. I know in the morning you may want to pick me up tea, something like green tea, maybe some black tea. Those actually have been shown to also decrease appetite, so it can extend your fast. It gives you this sense of fullness, so you don't feel like you're hungry. The other one would be, peppermint tea. Peppermint tea is so incredible in the morning. It really helps with, it gives you kind of a lift. Mushroom teas, like there are some that are good for brain cognition, like lion's mane. There are others like shaka tea, which is good for immune function. So you may want to think about, trying some of these herbal teas or these mushroom teas or these black coffees and having that during your fasting period, because really there's no calories in that and it can help you extend your fast. All right. So those are something you may want to think about. And let's see. Okay, I'm going to go to see if there's any questions so far about beverages. Any questions on beverages that you can consume while you're extending your fast? Any questions on beverages? Any questions so far? Well, you guys are quiet. That's okay. No problem at all. I'm going to continue with the training, and we're going to talk about, I believe the next part is food. So let me get to that. One moment. Okay. Okay, so let's go to, we are now into, okay, no, we're actually into supplements. Okay, so you may be thinking, well, I do take supplements, and I'm wondering, do supplements break my fast? Well, there are some that do and some that don't. So one of the ones that actually do are called branched chain amino acids, okay? And so some of you may be taking these branched chain amino acids, especially if you're in the gym, you're working out, and you want to make sure you get the amino acids to build the muscle. And however, they actually, believe it or not, contain calories. And so if you are on a strict fast and you're taking BCAAs at the time that you are supposed to be fasting, you are breaking your fast. And so in addition to that, it's really the leucine, the amino acid leucine, that sends the signal to the body to break the fast. Because we know it's the leucine in the amino acids that actually sends a signal to build the muscle. And so that's why we know that these are breaking the fast, okay? So basically, what foods and drinks contain calories that would break the fast? Well, any amount of calories will break the fast, all right? And so if you're following a strict fasting schedule, you really should avoid any foods or any drinks that contain any calories. However, if you are following the 5-2 fasting diets, that would be you are eating normally for 5 days and you are moderately fasting for the 2 days, well, then you can obviously have some calories during those 2 days. But you're going to eat up to 25% of your calories during those 2 days, all right? So the key, though, with this is you need to know how many calories that your body requires, right? So that you can then add up 25% of that and know that those are the calories that you're going to want to have for those 2 days that you were in calorie restriction. So this is really important. Now, this would be, for me, I don't employ this type of fasting to my clients because I really believe that the results I get with the intermittent fasting are the results that my clients like. And so I'm just sticking with that. And it's super, super easy. In fact, a way to really get them the results is we do need to know if you are looking to lose some serious weight within 90 days, you actually do need to know how many calories that the body requires to be able to lose the required amount of weight within the 90 days. It is a science. It is a science. We can't shoot in the dark. We need to know what we're doing. And so when my clients come to me, what I do is with my calculations, I actually calculate the exact amount of calorie requirements that they need. Not only that, we segment them into the protein, carbs, and fats per meal so that you can reach your personal health and body goals. Okay, one example would be this customized meal plan. So I know I have some clients on them now, and they are just, it takes all the guesswork out. Because really, you don't want to be guessing. You want to be exact because you have a goal. And so you start with the end in mind, and then you work backwards from there. So things like how many calories do I need for the day and how much protein is required to be able to build the muscle and burn the fats. This is just one example of the meal plans that I have available to my clients. And they are actually quite delicious meals. They don't take very long. And this is how, you can save time and get your results really quickly. So, okay. So now let's talk about some supplements and foods that are less likely to break a fast. Well, we know that, let's talk about multivitamins. So many people I know are on multivitamins, okay? So although multivitamins, technically don't have any calories, you really actually need to double check. Because I know some multivitamins are in a liquid form. Some multivitamins are in a powder form. Well, if they're in a liquid or powder form, they likely do have calories. And so you're going to want to make sure for sure, 100%, that you're going to take these multivitamins that are in liquid or powder form during the time of eating. Okay. So that way you have the confidence knowing that this would be not breaking your fast, so that you are still fasting. Okay. And there are some supplements. You can check the ingredients, look to see the calories. And if there's no calories, then obviously you're not breaking a fast. So for me, I know with my clients, I actually have a fat burning supplement stack that we do take during the fasting period. All right. This is not a time when they're eating. This is a time when they're fasting. Because really, it's so important to be able to match your supplement, like when to have it to get the best result. So for example, we have a new kit on the block. It's called Xanthotrim. So Xanthotrim is my newest fat burning supplement. It actually has this specific type of green tea. It's got some brown seaweed in there, which helps with raising metabolism, and some other ingredients in there that work synergistically to actually burn fat. The other one would be Berber's Formula. I know you've heard me speak about Berber's Formula. What I love about Berber's Formula is that it can actually help extend your fast. It actually can help to suppress appetite, okay? And how it does that, it helps to regulate blood sugar. So if it's low, then it will bring it high so that you don't feel like you need to eat, all right? And it is an herbal formula. It's safe and it's easy to use. And it has the also added benefit of supporting good digestive gut function. The third one would be carnitine. Now, you may have heard me speak about carnitine. So these are supplements that we're going to want to take away from food. You're not going to want to take this with food, because if they do, they won't work. So carnitine is actually an amino acid that shuttles your fatty acid, so your fat, into the mitochondria, which is the energy center of your cell, and burns it as fuel. So you have energy and you're burning fat. And again, completely safe. And these are the three that I highly, highly recommend if you're looking to get slimmer and feeling stronger. So these are like my three go-tos. Okay. So these are away from food. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this share, and I'm going to go into see if there's any questions right now. I mean, I've gone through quite a lot of material, and I'm just wondering right now, are there any questions so far with what I've shared with you about fasting? The type of fasting, the beverages you can have while you're fasting, the beverages you need to avoid while fasting, the supplements you can have while fasting, the supplements you need to avoid while fasting, anything to do with fasting right now. Nothing right now. Okay. No questions so far. Okay, so we're going to keep with the training, and I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go to my sharing screen. Okay, one moment. Okay, so if you're going to decide to do the 5-2 fasting ways of fasting, so where you're eating normally for 5 days and you are limiting your calories for the 2, then we're going to want to think about, this is like a modified fasting plan. We're going to want to think about then, what are the foods that are typically low calorie? What are the drinks that are typically low calorie, so that you have an idea of what to consume during those 2 days where you are low calorie. Well, some really good examples of low calorie food and drinks include the following: eggs. Make sure the eggs, though, are pasture raised, because I know that some of my clients, or some I've heard, eat regular eggs and think they're allergic to it, but really it's because they're factory farmed. And if you're eating eggs and you have a reaction to them, it may not be the eggs. It may be how, like, who's produced the eggs. So pastured eggs are completely different in the body than factory farmed eggs, because pastured chickens eat their normal diet, which is, some bugs, some grass, maybe a little bit of, not a little bit of organic feed, but they eat like their natural diet. All right. So their product, their eggs, will be, a food that your body will understand. It will assimilate really well. But when you're eating eggs from a chicken that's been inside all day, not seeing the sunlight, under artificial light, not able to move, okay, the product is going to be completely different if you eat that. All right. Something that your body will look at it like it doesn't understand it. And so it may have a reaction to it. So again, I would relook at the eggs you're having and maybe make sure that they're pasture raised. Okay. Codfish, so anything white fish, really, really low calorie and high in nutrients. Hey, would you believe potatoes? Potatoes have nutrients, and they're actually a really good starch. And they are low calorie. And one of the best ways to employ potatoes into your low calorie day is to make sure that you eat them later on in the day, because they are a starch and they can actually help you have a better sleep. All right. So think about having potatoes. When you are having potatoes, think about having them from a non-GMO source, and it really needs to be, they need to be labeled non-GMO. Because if you're consuming GMO foods, then you're going to wonder why, you're not as well as you can be. It's because genetically modified foods like potatoes can actually lead to a leaky gut. All right. And here you are, you're fasting, you're following all the right things, but you're not feeling well. And maybe that the quality of food products that you're having may not be, optimal. And so one of the ways you want to look at is avoiding all genetically modified foods. And one of them would be potatoes. So again, potatoes, make sure that they're from a non-GMO source. Lean meats. And again, with meats, you want to make sure that you're choosing meats that are from a pasture-raised animal, from its natural environment. They are completely different. They react completely different in the body than a factory-farmed animal. Okay, the pasture-raised animals actually tend to be higher in omega-3, and so they're anti-inflammatory and they're easily to assimilate. You actually need less of that to be healthy than you would a factory-farmed animal. Factory farmed animals have more omega-6, which are inflammatory, and they're they're difficult to digest because, again, the body doesn't look at it like it's something it can assimilate. And so you may wonder, I can't have meat, but maybe it's the quality of the meat that you're having. So really think about that. Legumes. Legumes can be really a part of a healthy diet, as long as you don't have autoimmune or celiac, Crohn's, any digestive issues. Legumes can actually be a good part of your daily diet. Just make sure that they're soaked or sprouted first, so that you get rid of the anti-nutrients or the phytic acid, which again, those are difficult to digest. So if you can soak or sprout them first, or buy them that way, then they would be a really good low calorie food that you can include on the days that you're eating low calorie. We already talked about black coffee and we already talked about tea. Okay. Now, so here we talked about the types of fasts. We talked about the beverages to have while you're fasting, the foods to have, not to have while you're fasting, the supplements. And now what happens is, once you've kind of decided on the type of fast that you'd like to do, then you may want to think about, well, if I'm going to do these type of fasts and I'm going to do like a longer fast, then what would be a really good food or drink to break a fast if I've been fasting? Well, I have some really good suggestions for you. The first one is, and this could be actually if you haven't been well and you actually haven't been able to eat because you've been sick and you've had no appetite. Say if you've had the flu for 4 or 5 whatever days, and you need to get back into eating, for example, because you have had no appetite. Well, I have to say the number one first food that I highly recommend anyone watching this have would be a combination of getting some slippery elm bark powder. So you can buy this in a health food store, and you would do like a 1/4 cup of this, and it actually helps to soothe the digestive tract. It's so nutrient rich. It's so high in calcium. And it's one of the first foods that actually they give it to babies as well because it's so easily assimilated and it's so high in nutrients. So slippery elm bark would be something that I'd be thinking about. I would add coconut milk to that instead of like regular cow's milk. Regular cow's milk is not something that we can digest unless it's raw. And it's one of the number one food allergies. So if you are consuming cow's milk and you're wondering why you're not feeling well, it may be because it's the number one food allergy. No, it doesn't make your bones strong. Raw milk would be a different situation because you can digest it, but regular cow's milk would not be something I recommend. So you may want to think about coconut milk. You may want to think about almond milk. There are actually so many different nut milks out there now. There are oat milk. There is hemp milk. There's cashew milk. I've seen so many different ones now. But again, look at the ingredients. What else are they putting in there? So it may sound like, woohoo, you've got something new and it sounds great and delicious, but really what else are they putting in there? So for coconut milk or almond milk, just make sure it's unsweetened and it's just like a few ingredients. We don't want to see a laundry list of all these chemicals that they're adding to it. So we've got our slippery elm bark powder, which would be like a quarter cup. We've got our coconut milk or just some kind of nut milk that's super, super clean. And then we have our chia seeds. So chia seeds are one of the best fats that you can consume. And they're also, they really help with hydration. There's something about chia seeds that when you add it to a liquid source, it has this hydration effect inside the cells. And so it allows you to, if you really have a hard time actually getting enough water in for the day, if you just include some chia seeds into your daily diet, you're actually hydrating the body from the inside out, all right? And so you want to think about something like this when it comes to breaking a fast. Other foods that you may want to think about is a 3-ingredient smoothie. What is in a 3-ingredient smoothie? Well, we always think about protein first. So 3-ingredient smoothie is always, where's my protein source? So pick a protein powder that you can assimilate, that you can digest. There's pea, there's rice, there's all different types, there's whey. And then you want to add your liquid, which would be like a coconut milk or almond milk. And then you want to add your carbs, which would be like your berries, or if you're in like the tropics like me, I have papaya. So I just eat what's grown in my environment. And then maybe a little bit of fat to that, like chia seeds or some avocado. So think about something like that. Another easy to digest meal that you can start to break your fast with would be eggs. But make sure when you do have the eggs that the yolk is a bit runny and the white is cooked. Because if the yolk is a bit runny, you're going to be able to digest it so much easier, okay? But make sure the white is cooked because otherwise you could end up with a B vitamin deficiency. So just make sure that the yolk is cooked and the whites are cooked and the yolk is runny. You can add some sauteed dark leafy greens to that and some avocado. White fish. White fish is so easy to digest. Again, if you're actually coming from the flu or a cold and you've just come from a fast, we know that fish is one of the best foods to consume because it's so easy to digest. You may want to think about some broccoli and asparagus, really good for liver, and just slightly cook them. You don't want to overcook them because then you're getting rid of most of the nutrients. Just slightly cook them for like 30 seconds and some, maybe steam them with a bit of salt. We know chicken is really easy to digest. Not barbecue chicken where it's all char-boiled. No, that's really hard to digest. But think about how it's made. So roasted chicken, like slow roasted chicken, so easy to digest. And maybe add some sweet potatoes to that as well. So we're always going to want to think about, if you're going to employ this fasting protocol, you want to make sure when you are eating that you're satiated, that you're not thinking about having food all the time. And one of the ways to do that is to always think about, where is my protein source? A lot of my programs, they focus on where's my protein. So protein is a priority because you're made of protein, okay? And most people, when they come to me, they don't eat enough protein. And they wonder why they feel weak, they're gaining weight, they can't fast. It's because they're not feeling satiated, all right? And they're not feeling strong. And so that's where the protein comes in. So I'm going to talk about some high protein foods and drinks in a minute, but I'm going to stop this because I've been talking for a while, to see if there's any questions right now on fasting that I can answer. Any questions on fasting so far? Okay, so no questions on fasting so far. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the training and one moment. Okay. Oh, not that one. Sorry, one moment. Wrong one. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so when we talk about when you're eating, we want to make sure we're having high protein foods and high protein drinks. So you may want to think about, yeah, well, I heard nuts are really high in protein. Yeah, they can be high in protein, sure, but just make sure you can easily assimilate them. Quite often, I hear a lot of, handfuls of almonds, handfuls of cashews. Well, you may have noticed that if you have tried this, you have a stomach ache. Why aren't I losing weight? Why do I feel so like heavy? It's because it's too much. So I'd say about 5 or 8 almonds, but make sure they're properly soaked first so that you can assimilate them. If not, they're really actually quite hard to digest. On the flip side, you may want to think about nut butter. So nut butter, things like cashews or almonds, or even pumpkin seed butter. So if you're a male and you're watching this and you're really concerned about having a healthy prostate, think about pumpkin seed butter. If you're a female and you're menstruating and you're day 1 to day 14, you want to think about things like flax and pumpkin seeds to help with the estrogen cycle. So you want to think about those sort of things. Dairy products. Dairy products can be really a good source of protein if you can digest them. My high recommendation is to make sure that the dairy products are actually raw. And so, because the raw products have the enzymes in them to be able to break them down. If they're pasteurized, the body has to use its own enzymes to try and break it down. And you wonder why you're tired. It's because the foods are so difficult to digest. But if we choose foods that are easy to digest, like raw dairy products, for example, cheese made by raw milk. A lot of the European cheeses are made by raw milk. All right. We get all of our cheese made by raw milk here in Playa del Carmen. We actually get our butter. We get raw butter. You can source these out. They are available. When you think about yogurt, you're going to want to think about unhomogenized, like unpasteurized, non-homogenized yogurt. This is the type of yogurt that is easily assimilated. And you want to take it maybe to the next degree and have it from an A2 source, not an A1 source of cow. For example, Jersey land. So if you can find Jersey cows that are non-homogenized, unpasteurized, non-homogenized, and plain, right? You're going to get a really high source of food, all right? Easy to digest. Now, if you're not having any cow, you may want to think about sheep or goat. Those are also super easy to digest, all right? What we want to avoid, though, are pasteurized forms of these. We don't want the yellow processed cheese. We don't want the pasteurized yogurt with all the sugar in there and all the fruit, okay? So yes, dairy products can be employed. Just make sure that the quality is there. Again, poultry. When you are looking at poultry, just think about pasture-raised chicken, pasture-raised turkey, not factory farmed. We talked about lean meats. We talked about fish being wild caught or white fish. Protein powders, just make sure that they're ones that you can digest. And again, look at the ingredients. We don't want to just look at the marketing on the very front cover. We need to look at what is exactly in there. Are they adding artificial sweetener? Are they adding sucralose? We don't want that. We want stevia, we want monk fruit, we want these sorts of sweeteners. We don't want the artificial, because what does it do? It makes us want to eat. And then it's really difficult to fast if your body wants food all the time. So if you're going to want to go, this sounds really good. I've heard so much about fasting. I have kind of an idea of, I actually want to begin fasting. All right. I just don't really know how to begin. Well, the first one is you want to set a goal. So here's the thing. With all my clients, we always have goals. And each client that comes to me, we always pick, Okay, in the next 90 days, what is our goals that we're going to accomplish? And then we work from there. So you want to write down your goal. Set your goal and write it down. Okay, so in 90 days, I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, perfect. So that is your goal, right? So that's the first thing you want to do is set your goal. And let's just pick like 1 or 2 goals instead of picking like 5 or 6, because it's hard to, accomplish 5 or 6 and feel like you've done that when it's so much easier just to pick 1 or 2 that you really, really want to accomplish. So I highly recommend you just pick 1 or 2 goals and just go for it. Okay. Really be focused. The second thing is, okay, now that I have my goal, Michelle, I want to lose 20 pounds in like 90 days. Then what we're going to do is, out of the 3 fasting methods, which is the one that you would like to pick? And just pick 1. Okay, pick 1 and go for it for 90 days. And give it a good shot. And remember, pick the one that you think you could be consistent with. All right, it's consistency that always wins the race. All right, so you're going to want to set your goal. You're going to pick your method. And then what you're going to want to do is you got to figure out your calories. Because if you're somebody who wants to lose weight, you are likely not where you want to go, because you're either eating too much or you're eating too little. So we actually need to find out the exact amount of calories you need on a day-to-day basis for you to actually accomplish your 90-day goal. All right, so you've got to figure that out. I know for me, I actually have I do this for my clients. So I have a method where I add the data points from my clients, where the weight is now, where they want to be, their height, their exercise level, and their age. So I pick all these parameters, and I have an actual app that I use, and then it spits out exactly how many calories that they need on a day-to-day basis, along with the macronutrients. So I know it's a systematic approach that actually works. So you're going to want to find, it's like a calories calculator. So you're going to want to find one that works for you. I know the ones that I use for my clients, and it works amazing because it's exact. And then what you're going to want to do is you got to plan your meals, because, you are changing what you're doing. And so you've got to plan ahead for you to be successful, because if not, things will fall off the rails and you'll be disappointed in yourself. So again, that's why we just want to keep it super simple, set maybe 1 or 2 goals and just go for it. But really, you have to plan your meals. So the meals would be planned during the feeding time. That way you're not going to be like knuckle fisting your weight. No, you've already got it all planned out. Again, I have this meal plan that I use for my clients. It works really well. It's like a done for you meal plan. It's like a 1-page cheat sheet. These are the meals we have for the week and the grocery list, and it makes it super, super simple. Make sure your calories count. What I mean by that is make sure the foods that you're having are nutrient rich. I gave the example of the eggs, pasture raised compared to factory farmed. I gave the example of the chicken and the turkey and the red meat. So we really want to make sure, and the potatoes. Potatoes, we make sure you're sourcing out non-GMO. In fact, if you go to the farmer's market, that would be your best choice, because we know that they're grown in your area. You can talk to the farmer direct, just you can make sure that your produce and your food are high quality. All right, so you really want to make sure that they count. The other thing is, try new foods and color your plate. So you want to think about these things when you are consuming your meals, because really you may be hungry all the time because you're actually micronutrient deficient. And so what foods are you eating? Are they just like chicken and rice? Are they chicken and potatoes? Are they chicken and broccoli? Are you eating that like most of the time? Well, you're devoid of so many nutrients and the body's starving for nutrition. Effectiveness. So, see how it's all working for you. And so I know for my clients, I have them get a body composition machine. And what they do is it's called Omniron. And what they do is they don't look at scale weight, they look at body composition. And it's a really inexpensive, scale that they can stand on, which actually gives their visceral fat, their body fat, their muscle mass. And instead of looking at scale weight, which is really not something we want to measure, because when you're weighing yourself on the scale, what are you weighing? You're weighing your bones, you're weighing your meal, you're weighing your water, you're weighing your fat, you're weighing your muscle. But don't you want to lose fat and build muscle? Isn't that more something that you want to start tracking? So that's why you want to look at a body composition machine that you can stand on. They're not expensive. And then you can actually track, this fasting is really helping me lose weight, lose body fat, and build muscle. I can see my body fat go down. I can see my muscle mass go up, and I can see my deep fat go down. And it does if you're doing the right things. And then side effects, how am I feeling? Am I like hangry? Is it really difficult for me to last those 12, 14, 15 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours? What's happening? Well, if that's the case, then maybe there's other things going on where your body just needs to take a bit more time to be able to learn how to fast. Because again, it's not a race. If you do this properly, it's a systematic approach. You just got to be consistent and give yourself some time and just be on the right plan. And all these things do work. So I'm going to get to foods to avoid, the ones that we really need to avoid, but I'm going to stop to see if there's any questions so far with anything. Okay, so I have someone here. Someone here is saying, it's a Facebook user. I'd love to know who this is, but anyways, best thing I ever did, Michelle. Okay, so I have here someone who's commented that they have employed the fasting or maybe the meal plans, and they said it was the best thing that they've ever done. So thank you so much for sharing. I'd love to know who this is, and I really appreciate that. Any other questions on fasting? Like maybe, are you wondering about stevia? Are you wondering about monk fruit? Are you wondering about MCT oil? Are you wondering about herbal tea? Anything else that you may be wondering about that you heard about? Is fasting okay before exercise? Is it better? How many hours are better? What if I'm a menstruating woman? What if I'm in menopause? What if I'm a male? What if I have diabetes? How many hours are the best? I'm coming up with all these questions for you. Maybe this is the first time you've kind of heard about fasting. Has anyone here tried fasting? Anyone here tried fasting with success? Maybe someone here has tried fasting and failed. Any other questions with fasting? Okay, so I'm going to finish up with sharing my screen. And go back to the right one. Okay, so when we are eating, because we're not just going to be fasting all the time, we actually need to eat properly. So what are the foods that we absolutely need to avoid to be able to be successful when we do fast? Okay, because again, if you're having a hard time fasting, it may be that you're not feeding the body properly. All right. So what are the foods that we absolutely need to avoid? Well, if you Google, you'll see, avoid processed food, avoid refined carbs, avoid excess fat. Okay, but what about this more extensive list? This is the list that I give to my clients so that they're more clear on, what, this makes sense. These are the kind of foods that, that I really, if I avoid, I feel better. So think about dairy. So dairy can be good, dairy can be bad. It depends on the person. If you have autoimmune, we know dairy is contraindicated. If you have respiratory system, like existing or like chronic respiratory issues, I would not employ dairy into my diet until the respiratory has been fixed. Allergies, like seasonal allergies, if you're experiencing that, we know that there's a gut issue. I would definitely not include dairy. And if you have multiple food allergies, absolutely not include dairy. Now, all these things are a symptom that, your digestive tract needs help. It's not the foods, it's the digestive tract, okay? And so once we fix the digestive tract, which you can easily do with the right program, which is what I do all the time, then you can start to eat these foods again. You can start to maybe eat dairy. And a good indication of, is dairy okay for me after I do fix my gut? Well, what's your ancestry like? So has your ancestry, have they been eating dairy all these years? If it's new to your ancestry, then maybe it's not the right food for you because your ancestry has not been consuming that. I know for me, I'm Russian. We've been having dairy for centuries. And so I know for me, dairy is actually a health food, but for others, it may not be. Okay, so now we talk about grains. Well, gluten can be an issue or not. It depends on the person. So If you have good digestive tract, you can have gluten grains, no problem at all. Just make sure they're soaked or sprouted. Okay, they're properly prepared. Or you can just start with non-gluten grains. All right. But again, we want to think about nutrient-rich foods, which are more like the vegetables, like the below-the-ground vegetables have typically more nutrition than, say, white rice. Okay. Nightshades. So nightshades, yeah, no, they're really good for most people unless you have autoimmune, you have a respiratory condition, or you have allergies, all right? Or you have arthritis. So we know any arthritic condition, all right, is nightshades actually make it worse. They actually can create pain. And so once we fix the arthritis, once we fix the autoimmune, the respiratory, the allergies, you can get back to having the nightshade family of foods. What are they? They are peppers, they're eggplant, they're like white potatoes. Those are those family, and tomatoes. GMO. Everybody needs to avoid GMO foods. So even when you're out in restaurants, I would still avoid GMO foods. And what I'm doing now is, I know a lot of the restaurants, they use cheap oils. And so I always ask for olive oil. Could you please make my stir fry with olive oil? Could you please steam my vegetables? All right. What kind of oils are you using? I ask them now. All right. Whereas before I never, now I am, because we know the fats in your diet is going to dictate how healthy you are. We know canola oil is a dangerous fat. We don't want canola oil. Even if it's non-GMO, it is not a good oil. All right, it is not a good oil. It has been linked to fatty kidney, fatty heart, and fatty liver. We don't want canola oil. Corn, it is corn season. When you are at the farmer's market, ask the farmer, is this GMO or non-GMO? We don't want GMO corn, okay? This will lead to leaky gut, which then leads to autoimmune, respiratory, allergies, all these things. We don't want that. Why don't we support healthy farm practices? Why don't we support organic practices, okay? Let's look for non-GMO corn. Certainly soy would not be a good idea. Sugar beets, alfalfa, and cottonseed meal. Allergies. What are the 10 most common offenders? Well, gluten, dairy, soy, farmed eggs, yeah, corn, GMO corn, yeast, nightshades, citrus, nuts, chocolate, strawberries, I know, and for me, actually green beans, interestingly enough. So those are the ones that you're going to want to avoid as well. Obviously, refined sugar, artificial sweetener. We don't want artificial sweetener. Artificial sweetener makes you want more sweet. Artificial sweetener is actually linked to, it actually affects the brain as well in a negative way. And if you have fructose as an ingredient, this actually is one of the main factors in fatty liver. Fatty liver, yeah, fructose. Okay, so fructose can lead to fatty liver, non-alcohol fatty liver disease. Fructose. Agave nectar. As much as we hear how healthy it is not healthy. We don't want agave nectar. That is also linked to fatty liver. Okay. Obviously, processed foods. So really be careful of these luncheon meats. We don't want these because, again, they're artificial food. And if you're going to eat artificial, you're going to feel artificial. And you wonder, why don't I feel good when I'm fasting? But when you're eating artificial food. So make sure when you eat healthy food. Food additives. This is where we look at the ingredients. We don't just look at the marketing in the front. Look at the ingredients. Okay, what are they putting in them? So we want to avoid things like MSG, food dyes, fluoride, refined table salt, ionized salt. So if it says sodium chloride on the label, that's something we don't want. We want more trace minerals. We want Himalayan salt. We want Celtic salt. And if you look at like regular table salt, you're going to see artificial ingredients in there that are just not good for our bodies. Okay, we can do better. Oils. This is one thing you really need to guard. When you are eating, make sure that your oils are fresh. Make sure your oils are not refined. Make sure your oils are not from vegetable source. No, because they're highly, they oxidize very quickly in the body and they lead to things like heart disease, atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, nicks in the arteries, which then leads to blood clots, all these sorts of things, okay? They actually make you rancid, okay? You feel old and you look old. and it will show up on your skin, and you'll have more wrinkles. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have healthy oils in our bodies. What are they? Olive oil, avocado oil, olives, coconut oil. So coffee, when we're having coffee, make sure 100% it's for sure organic. Non-organic coffee is moldy. You will feel moldy because you're drinking mold. All right. And we can do better. And there's so many organic coffees out there, like Kicking Horse. They're in so many grocery stores. If you can get one from like a single farm, that would be better. Organic single farm. I know from here, we actually traveled to Tulum to get our coffee, and it's from organic, one farm, and we get lots of it, and we put it into our pantry because we're going to go through it anyway. So why don't you just buy a whole bunch of it? And we grind it every morning so it's fresh. And, this is how we do things. All right. So I'm going to see if there's any, before I get into the final, see if there's any questions here from anybody. We're at 3:00. Yeah, 1 hour. Okay. Any questions on fasting? Is it good to fast before exercise? What kind of questions do you have? Looks like I've covered a lot and there aren't any questions. Okay, well, that's interesting. That's good. Okay, so I'm just going to finish up here right now with my last screen. And I'm going to pull that up in a sec. Okay, one sec. All right. So I just want to end in, I did cover a lot of material. I covered a lot of material. And if you are someone who is really looking to take hold of your health, you're looking to pull all the pieces together, you are looking to create a 90-day plan that you want to accomplish in a really easy, simple approach, systematic, where you're going to have fun doing it, and you're ready to be who you're meant to be, then please, if you're ready, get a hold of me. I am offering you a free 15-minute insight call where we're going to talk. I'm going to hear more about your goals. And then if it's fit for both of us, we can move forward with more conversations. But really, you can book a free 15-minute call with me. And I can, pretty much pinpoint what's holding you back and what can get you moving forward. All right. So if you're tired of, struggling and you're confused on what to do, or you just need the accountability. I have a coach. I need accountability with what I'm working on. Then I'm happy to help you with that. Just make sure that you reach out to me, and I will. I'll send my details after this training into the Facebook group, and after this. I'm going to put this into the replay under programs, under module 2, Fat Flush Fundamentals, because it's a deeper dive into fasting that I wanted to go through. So I'm glad it's the best thing that you ever did. That's awesome. I'm glad it's working for you. And it works for me too. Because when we're fasting, we're flushing away, old worn out proteins. We're flushing fat. We're flushing away what we don't need. And then when we're feeding, we're going to feed our bodies well with the quality foods that I've just described. Okay. And avoiding the ones that we don't need. So I want to thank you so much for joining. And I will see you next week with another training. We're going to do another deep dive next week. And if there's any topics that you want me to discuss, I'm going to actually do a survey to see what areas you guys need more help with. Because I'm happy to do deeper dives on that. Anyways, I want you to have an amazing day and enjoy the heat, and make sure you drink your water and take some electrolytes, or put some salt in your water, Himalayan salt. Okay, so have a great day, and we will see you next week.